You're talking about, man. Johnson, let's go. Dunk on someone. Oh!
Frank. Second free throw for Brooks. It's off! It's off!
Passes the business. Biombo!
Mikhail has it! Oh, come on, baby. 4 seconds.
I didn't even know SS BBW existed.
Oh, shit!
You said both cheeks were gonna be spread.
I beat the shit out of Aaron Carter.
Cam Johnson, deep three! Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go! Looking for somebody.
Oh, what the fuck? What just happened? What just happened?
Welcome back to Suns Valley Podcast, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We've got quite the episode today, considering DA signed an actual offer sheet, a big old fat offer sheet. Salty, wasn't it $33 million? I thought he was only supposed to make 30.5. What the hell is going on?
That's a good question, man. I'm not an expert when it comes to the contracts or CBAs or any of that stuff, but yeah, he got a huge contract, an offer sheet, and we're going to talk about it today, man. I mean, we've been sitting here for 2 weeks. How long has it been since Katie said it was the start of free agency, right? Right before that started, and then the news broke, and it's just been it's like a roller coaster of emotions, right? Up, down, up, down. We're gonna get Katie. No, we're not. Where Ayton's gonna go to? Where was the first like major place that Ayton was supposed to go?
Detroit.
Anyway, yeah, Detroit, and then Detroit drafts, 2 studs, and then they're off the table. And then San Antonio makes that trade, then they're off the table, and then it's just like so long because in reality, DA was the first piece that needed to move or something needed to happen because he wanted the max and, we didn't give it to him. And we could talk about that as well, like the way that transpired. But we got to this point where he actually got an offer sheet. And I was skeptical whether or not he was going to actually get a max offer sheet. But fucking Indiana over there and the what do you call it? The Midwest bullshit. Shout out to all the people
hurtful. I'm from Nebraska. I'm catching a stray.
I know, man. I had no ill will for Indiana, right?
But now you just hate the whole area of the country.
They go and fuck everything up, dude. In reality, because it's like, come on, man. I get it. You guys have been sucking for a while, and you're trying to make moves and stuff. But it's like you guys are trying. It's like, are you the Suns Midwest style? You're gonna get sticks and trade rape our dude, our GM. He's down on his luck, and then you're trying to go 2 for 2 with DA action, man. I don't know, man.
We just can't stop. We're just stepping on rakes as an organization. Bro. On screen right now, I'm showing Stat Muse, and it says the Suns could have had this, and it's a drawing of Luka in a Suns jersey.
Painful, man.
Every which way you look at it's painful, and it's just I'm starting to believe you that it probably has to do, like, there's one common denominator through all the years of this stuff happening. First off, my wife's watching. What's up, baby? Just shout out to my wife, Katie. Love you. So there's one common denominator, and that's the owner. With all of these, doesn't this feel similar? Doesn't this feel like Joe Johnson and Amari?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, because he's always connected. He's one of those owners that he got rich in the house.
Well, he's fired everyone 10 times, and it still keeps happening. So he has to have his fingers in the chili
ring. Yeah, man.
Let's not.
I mean, So basically, Sarver is that he's the connection to all this because other organizations, like, because Gambo tweeted out today, because I was listening to the radio like all afternoon, and Gambo's on vacation, and it was like he was mid-interview, and he's like, "Hold on, I'm getting a call from the Suns. I'll have to hit you guys back." I know for a fact that was fucking Sarver, his boy, because Gambo, like, he protects Sarver, you know, like you can
Right.
tell he's getting those sweet benefits, whatever he's getting, you know. And it's like he puts out a tweet immediately after. He's like, the Suns are willing to do whatever it takes to win a championship. That means 100 million over the cap. So be it.
I like that. I like that.
Hey, the concept is great, right? There's a lot of things that go into it because the Sarver investigation still has not had a conclusion, which is weird, right?
It's not weird to me.
The Brian Windhorst thing where he throws his fingers up. Oh, what does this mean? So if he was innocent, why wouldn't they have concluded that a long time ago?
Exactly. If they could have cut him off, they would have done it by now. I don't expect any of those things to work, you know.
That's fine. But even beyond all that, because the NBA has an image and they have competition and they have money to worry about. So it's like if you have this owner that's not in one of the biggest, it's not one of the biggest, like Phoenix Metropolitan's like top 5 in the country, right? But when you're talking about like a media market, they're not as big as like LA or any of that, not even close. But they're still a historic franchise, one of the best winning percentages in the NBA. So to have an owner like Robert Sarver that players hate, he's cheap, and then he has this stuff behind the scenes going on. It's like I could see Robert Sarver like going to the extreme to go over. Like the last time they were over the luxury tax was like 10 years ago or something like that. So he doesn't do that. But like if you want to like show the NBA and all the owners and stuff that you're committed and kind of like take the focus off your organization, especially with all the investigation, what would be the best way to do that? You go over the cap. You're not seen as this cheap owner.
Right.
And then if you got KD and Deandre, which we'll go more into depth of what that would mean to the team, they'd be paying upwards to like 80 to 100 mil luxury tax. And that's like Golden State levels or like competing with some of the highest cap payers in the league.
I've been saying it for a while now, man. Like the Suns have made their bed and now they have to lay in it. Their bed is Chris Paul and now they have to lay inside him. And normally I don't say it that sus usually, but the point still remains, bro. You made this decision that you were going to give Chris Paul how much money? $90 million? 120? Who knows? I can't even remember. It's just so much. It's like 40 a year, right? Almost 40 a year. Mm-hmm. You're going to pay this 38-year-old who's clearly injured every time he goes into the postseason. And now we know that you can take him out of the game. All you have to do is have a rangy defender guard him full court 24/7.
Keep going. I'm going to grab my dog.
Go ahead. So we've made our bed, which is we've paid Chris Paul, and we've decided to go the route of selling the farm to just try to win with Chris Paul. You have to take it to the fullest extent. You have to go all the way with it, which is whatever it takes. Obviously, that means paying a premium and going all the way into the luxury. But I'm talking also going and getting KD. Like, I'm not done with us going and getting KD, and I think we still have to do it. And I would do damn near anything. Don't ask me about players on this team I would trade, Salt. Don't ask me the specific names because you won't like my answer. No one will like my answer of what I'm willing to trade for Kevin Durant.
So there's a lot of things that go into this. All right. Tons of things that go into this. The way you ended your season goes into this. The way that you ended the previous season goes into this, because you can look at multiple quotes from everybody and just remember the historic postseason that DA had. And people like Chris Paul were saying, yeah, man, that dude's going to get the bag. He's going to get the bag this offseason, right? And then it didn't happen. So, number one, this was the plan all along. And let me set the table for you because I talked about this before. I brought it up and I said that the Suns, what was the limiting factor with the Suns, Gabe? Giving him the max. Do you remember what the ended up being the thorn in the side of that deal? Like, what was
for me, it was that they felt like Cam Johnson was going to need to get his money down the line.
No. So they went to negotiations with DA and his agent. Maybe I didn't.
He wanted the full max. He wanted
what did that mean?
The fullest of the full. It meant like
which was years, right?
All the year. Yeah. And we wanted to give him, what was it?
5 years.
3 years.
It would have been a 5-year contract, and I think they broke it down to like 170. Okay. So the Suns essentially said, hey, we want you at max money, but 4 years, not 5.
Right.
So guess what happens when another team signs him to an offer sheet? Guess how many years they can give him?
4.
Okay. So this was the plan all along, dude. I mean, I'm sure that they
Stop it.
I promise you,
No. It's genius. My pea brain is having a hard time. I've been vaping. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. Okay. So what you're saying is it was 4D chess. It was
it's 4D chess. It was like, shout out to Burns. He's like, Amazon Prime Day just happened, right? And there's a lot of people. We'll get to the super chat too, Pimp. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Pimp.
There's a lot of people that wait till Prime Day, right? Why do they wait till Prime Day? They want that Prime Day deal.
You're the guy that waits till Prime Day.
I'm the dude.
You're the dude that knocks over old ladies rushing into Best Buy at 4 in the morning.
$2.
Yes.
So Robert Sarver's cheap ass. And I know, so it's not just Robert Sarver. Let me put this out there, because when it came to Booker, how long did it take for him to get his first deal and his second deal? Did they wait
last minute? Well, no, they didn't. They got that done.
No.
The second he was able to get his max,
he was able to get his first contract and his second, no brainer, right?
Yeah,
it's
you're
like
right.
A no brainer.
You're right.
The second we can give you a super max, we give it to you. See, the thing with DA is the reason why because he's like, with his physical tools, he's a generational talent. Okay. But there's a lot of players that have the physical tools that never reach their possible potential because they have a lot of issues in between the mind or whatever, the drive. And with Deandre Ayton,
the playing 2K until 6:30 in the morning, like he's me.
Exactly. So it's like everybody wants to put the blame on the ownership, and it's cool if you want to go that route. But there definitely were question marks, because when you talk about a max contract, you're putting yourself within the top elite players in your position. So it's like, if you're going to commit that type of money, and James Jones is all about flexibility. If you look at the way he signs his contracts, he typically wants to be it on, like Shamit, for example. I think the last 2 years of his deal aren't even guaranteed. Like the way he signs his contracts, he wants flexibility. And I like that when it comes to a team. Do you want to read the super chat? Or you want
I do. I read it. It kind of made me laugh. So pimp named Slickback, man, thank you for the dono, says KD played with his best friend in Brooklyn and randomly switched up. Y'all willing to gut the future, and this dude wants out in 2 years. LMAO, good luck.
How do you want to approach that question? Because that's a good point.
Here's how I feel about it. Like I said earlier, the Suns made their bed and now they have to lay in it. They put themselves in a situation where they have this window for a title, which in my opinion, as of right now, is just like maybe a fruit fly could get in there, but it's damn near shut. Mm-hmm. So you've paid Chris Paul all this money. You've alienated DA and made him want to leave. He wants to go to Indiana. He's willing to move to Indiana. That's how much he hates you.
The Midwest.
Bro, why do you think I moved back to Austin the second I could? You know, like, it sucks in the Midwest. I'm not a fan of cold weather. He's willing to be a Bahamas boy, an island boy living in Indiana. We fucked that situation up so much. So that's our bed we've made. So now we have to lay in it. And if I'm gonna lay in that bed, I want KD laying right next to me. And I'll risk it for the biscuit. I will risk it for one title. If the Suns win one title and then Booker is like, I'm out, I'm like, yo, it sucks that you're leaving, but at least that feeling is over. That empty, titleless. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're chasing that drug and we've never even had the drug. We got like secondhand smoke off of the Bucks. They let us like get a little bit in our nostrils and we were like, oh shit. And everyone wants it. Everyone wants it bad, bro. Bad enough that I'm not trying to gut the team, but I respect Kevin Durant so much as a player. And I don't think 33 going on 34 is that old. I don't. It's not young.
Not.
That's still the prime of your life, bro. Not in today's sports. That's the prime of your life. And all we need him for is 2 years, because Chris Paul ain't lasting more than 2 years. So ask yourself, are you willing to risk it for 2 years and really make a push? Or do you want to just be on the cusp for like 8 years? I'd rather try for 2 years, bro.
If you look at like all the responses from the Nets, they weren't interested in Ayton anyway. Like originally when the KD stuff came out, people were like, oh, it's a no-brainer. Ayton wants to sign and trade. You know, he wants a max contract. That'd be a lot of money moving towards them. And they said, nah, we're not interested in Ayton, you know? So that was the first thing. And then the trade discussions went to like, okay, well, then we need a multiple team situation where, you know, Utah was brought up to kind of sweeten the pot with picks. And then from what I'm hearing is Brooklyn doesn't want picks because their picks that they moved to Houston, you know, they can't be in a tank mode because they're not going to get those picks. So they want young players. So Ayton wasn't really like the requirement for Brooklyn anyway. He was always going to be needed to move to a different team, whether it was Utah or whatever other team, to just get more picks and more options for Brooklyn. Like, oh, let's get Donovan Mitchell and swing him over to the Brooklyn Nets. And then the Suns get KD and then Utah gets all these picks and stuff. But that never came to fruition because I just think simply Ayton is a great player when it comes to a traditional center, but that's not what the NBA is doing this day and age. We got the Warriors winning with who was their center? Some, you know, like he just signed a deal for like $20 million or something.
Who's center?
The Warriors center. Who's the main guy? He's like
Kuminga.
Scrapper.
Oh, not Kuminga. That's the young forward.
Anyway, it's not important.
Looney.
Mm-hmm.
You talking Looney?
Yeah, Looney.
Yeah.
So, you know, Ayton, $33 million a year to a dude that didn't even average 20 and 10 this year. I mean, he was at 17 and 10, I think. It's a big risk, but at the same time, you can't let him go for nothing. Like, you can't let them sign the offer sheet and say, well, we're not going to sign the offer sheet and we're just going to free up cap.
Can we go back to your genius point?
Yeah.
And I know you stole it from somebody. Who did you get that point from?
We were talking about this a long time ago, but they talked about it on Burns and Gamba today.
Okay. So what you're saying specifically, for anybody just joining, guys, we got about 60 in here. Hit the like if you don't mind, guys. Try to get a little bit bigger stream today. But look, you were saying that they wanted him, they were willing to give him 4 years max money a year ago.
Facts.
That's what they had written down on their vision board. This is what we're willing to give you. And he says, no, I want 5 years. And they were like, okay.
And he drew he drew a line in the sand for them because they wanted to give him max money with 4 years. That's where they were at. And Ayton said, no, I'm worth more. Right.
And we were like, that's kind of messed up, bro. I mean, it's not. It's not messed up. It's just it's hardball.
Be a max player. It is hardball, but you got to do that in the league, right? I mean, it's a year extra at that amount of money is big.
You're
4
right.
years as opposed to 5 years is like that. With that amount of money and that amount of years, that's a long time to lock up a player has some question marks.
And let's go over the question marks. What are the question marks?
His drive, right?
Testosterone levels.
His testosterone levels for sure. His commitment to being great is definitely a question.
His commitment to getting sleep so that he can show up to practice and do something. Like, truly, it does seem like some days he was just extra tired. That can't be. That's not. You don't. I mean, bro. When you're considering giving him the same money that Embiid gets, or close to it, or the same type of deal, hell no, because you ain't, bro. I don't know. Would you say Ayton is half the player that Embiid is? Would you say he's definitely half the player? Because I'd say I don't know if he's half as good as Embiid, because Embiid is, you know?
I mean, it's one of those things. It depends on the night. Are we talking about a night where Ayton goes and actually plays to his full potential and then just kills it? Yeah, I mean, he's up there with. I mean, Embiid dicks him down every time, but like when he goes
and puts him in a corner, makes him look scared.
For sure.
You know?
But there's all the stuff that goes into it. It's like we talked about Chris Paul because you said they made their bed and they lied inside Chris Paul or whatever you said. It's just like
something sus.
They chose him, and then when that happened, we're like, oh shit, Ayton's his trajectory just shot through the roof. Because CP3 takes these no-name centers like DeAndre Jordan and makes them stars, all stars even, you know?
But he can't do it with DA.
But for whatever reason, that shit does not click, right? Because you have CP3 that runs the offense, and then the way that our offense is predicated, it's not like, what do they call it? The 0.5 offense or some shit?
Yeah.
So it's like throwing it down to a post player and having them back it up. Pause is not their style, right? So we've seen plenty of examples where Ayton would have, I don't know, 15 points, 20 points in the first half or whatever it was, and then he gets like 1 or 2 touches in the second half. And it's like, yeah, that's a disrespect type of thing, because it's like players aren't seeing you as the alpha dog, or you're not.
That makes me feel like remembering all these things does make me feel better, like about being so rough with him in negotiations. Like they just,
so if you're a general manager, right? And you were in the position where Ayton had this historic playoff run, but you knew all the stuff before that, right? And then you have to commit, and you're locked in there. If you make a mistake in the NBA, it could destroy your chances to win a championship. So like if you're in the negotiating table with Ayton, would you have cut the deal for just like, oh yeah, you want that extra year? We'll give you an extra $33 million and lock ourselves financially into the, you know, like what would you have done?
I'm starting to like the way that they did it, because if you look at it from this perspective, it's like, if you're just looking at it like just ones and zeros, you say, okay, Suns, this man wants 5 years, X money. And if you don't, and you want to give him 4 years, X money. Now, if you wait a whole year, the worst punishment you're going to get is what you want. 4 years, full money, which you're already okay with. but you'll have to wait a year. And like, we didn't have to pay him last year. And now we get him for 4 years if we bring him back. And I think they're bringing him back, bro. I don't think James Jones is dumb enough to let this shit slide.
It would be franchise suicide if they didn't bring him back, because essentially you're taking a fringe all-star player, a player that a team is willing to offer like record money to, and you're saying, nah, we're just going to let you go for nothing. It's like, no, you can't sell that to your player. You can't sell that to your fans, because your fans already hate Sarver's fucking guts. And it's you had the Joe Johnson situation. At least you got a sign and trade where we got screwed over. With this situation, if you let him go for nothing, you don't even get a hot dog or a Coke out of it. You let this dude that you drafted #1 over Luka, it's like you're doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on your L. There's no way there's no way it possibly happens.
How about 5 and 6 and 7 time tripling down on your L when you consider the fact that the whole Halliburton and Sticks thing, and now it's like we keep fucking up, and then the Pacers are like, oh, you gonna drop that? Yeah, I'll pick that up. I'll take that. Oh, your #1 overall pick? We'll take him. Like, can you imagine him and Sticks over there starting together? I mean, I don't know if I'm built to handle that.
This kind of bounces off of that. Pause. So shout out to Isaac McKell-Bridge on Twitter. He said, let's review James Jones' moves as a GM. He got CP3 in a trade. He signed JaVale and couldn't retain him. He gave Shamet a not great deal and traded a first-round draft pick for him. He traded the 10th pick, Jalen Smith, who he picked over Halliburton, after 1.5 seasons, for Torrey Craig, who he did not sign and who did nothing in the playoffs. He traded Torrey Craig twice, like I said. He traded for Aaron Holiday and just let him walk, and he had no effect on the team at all. And then if this happens, he would let DA walk for nothing, which is not going to happen. But it's like you're on you made some things that took us from dumpster pigeons to competing for the title, but like he's on an L streak,
right?
Big time. I mean, because it's like he did the CP3 trade, then he drafted Cam Johnson, and then it's just like, man, the shit that he's done and said is troubling at the best. The fact that he says he doesn't value draft picks in the interview he did, not getting involved in any trades this draft, trying to get back in to get a player. The Jalen Smith situation was just a clusterfuck. I mean, that's his worst. I mean, he's made some dumb things, but that was the worst. It's like you pass on Halliburton, then you compound it by trading him for a player that doesn't make any impact and he's on a 2-year deal, doesn't make any impact. And then Indiana goes and signs him in the offseason, and he's going to be a starter at the position that you envisioned.
And he looked good.
So he was going to,
you had him, right? You wouldn't play him. Monty Williams wouldn't play Sticks for any reason. He acted like Sticks was trash. He acted like Sticks was some child who was 4 years away from being able to help a team win. And then he comes in, starts playing with Chris Paul, and it's like, is he really this close to as good as DA? Statistically? He shouldn't be this close. And then Monty sees that, James Jones sees that and goes, I'll still fucking trade him away. Like,
well, why did that happen, Gabe? Because they got in a situation with his contract because they didn't pick up his option. Remember that?
Yes.
Like they decided not to do that and let it go to whatever, and it was impossible to get value back for Sticks, right? Because there was no promise that he was going to sign. He was going to be an unrestricted free agent, and he ended up signing with Indiana, and we couldn't make the deal because it was a bad foresight from our GM and our coach. The combination of those two things, and you have a player that is supposed to add to. So, a player like Sticks, it could have helped in this situation. You know, like if DA's on his way out, and you have someone that you have a young center / 4 or whatever.
Look, hypothetically, would you do this? And I would you do like Duarte and Sticks and like picks for DA sign and trade, and then run it back with Sticks and Biombo as our bigs? Because that shit was working when DA was out. Would anybody in the chat do that? I know that sounds like a L, but like this isn't a bigs league, you know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You're taking a player that is
Duarte is nice.
I know Duarte is pretty nice, but I don't know, man. Like what they were talking about for the actual sign and trade with money coming back, like this Miles Turner situation, it seems like he's been on the block for like 5 years or something. Like they've been wanting to get rid of him. And this dude's not. It's like he was always the rumor, like to come back in a sign and trade, and the Suns don't really like him, and he only got a year left on his contract, and it's like the rest of their, you know, you're not going to bring Jalen Smith back because that admits your failure as an organization, and then you look at the other players that have, and it just salary wise, and it just doesn't make sense. And Indiana doesn't have to do that anyway because they felt like, if they sign him to this massive offer sheet, Phoenix obviously doesn't value him as a max player. So they just thought the pressure would put on Phoenix. So where Phoenix would just be like, well, we're just going to let him walk.
But like, I don't think that's 100% accurate, even, you know, according to your own reporting, bro. Like they do value him at a max contract, just not a 5-year max. Like two things can be true at once. They didn't give him what they like. Yes, they don't see him as that level max, but still a max. And it's amazing what you pointed out, man. Like, maybe this is like, I'm reading all this stuff on Twitter here, and everyone's just saying, I can't believe the Suns don't value DA. What's wrong with them? It's like, they're actually, it sounds like they're really playing 4D chess and winning because they are about to get exactly what they wanted when they negotiated with DA. Yeah. They just played hardball, did a big old circle around the ring, and came back and get exactly what they wanted. It's amazing.
The interesting thing, so I see some people in the chat, shout out to all you guys, like 125 watching. If you'd hit the like button, subscribe, all that good
Please,
stuff.
guys.
Share us out on social media.
Hit that like.
All right. So with Deandre Ayton and all that stuff, we've talked about, you know, like 4D chess and all that stuff. That's fine. But at the same time, I still think that they were trying to find an offer out there, like a sign and trade, because it's been significant time, and a lot of that has to do with you have to have a trade partner that's willing to tango with you, and just there's not a lot of teams out there that had the cap space. Like Detroit was one of them, and then they moved on because they drafted and stuff like that. San Antonio was another team. Then they said they went committed to full on rebuild mode. And then there was just nothing really. And then Indiana came up, and then they traded Brogdon, and they had to wait for the physical to go through. And then they came to players. So it's like, yeah, I think the Suns knew that because we talked about this a long time ago. And I said, I brought this up a long time ago, that I said that the Suns wanted that 4-year contract. And then when it was brought up where, you know, a team can sign him to an offer sheet. So it's like, well, that team can only offer him 4 years. And it's like the Suns getting what they wanted to begin with. And I think that if the Suns would have signed Ayton last year, so right after the NBA Finals, it would have hard locked them into that cap lock situation, and they wouldn't have been able to pursue KD as is. But now, since I don't know how the collective bargaining works, or the you'd have to go ask someone like Torrey or someone like that. But that's what they were saying, because they're saying a lot of the moves that James Jones made would help them in the pursuit of Kevin Durant, right? So it's like, I don't know.
I mean, that's the big fear
of stuff that goes into it, right?
That's the big fear is what Flex said true, where DA was really never a part of the negotiations anyways? Like, it's clear that Brooklyn didn't really want DA because it'll hard cap them and make it impossible for them to improve their team. But like Flex said, it doesn't matter. Like, that's not a part of it. So it's like, I kind of want to talk about the Flex angle. I'm interested to see what you think, because I'm not really mad at Flex. I don't feel like Flex lied. I feel like he's been really accurate. He's called shit that nobody thought. Nobody thought that the Suns were going to no one thought Kevin Durant was going to demand a trade. Especially, this is what really hits to me for Flex, is when Kyrie re-signed, didn't we all think it was dead?
Yeah.
And that, like, Flex immediately was like, no, this doesn't matter. This only sets into motion the situation where Kevin Durant, and I'm thinking, okay, this dude is like really going hard on this line of thinking here.
Down on it. Yeah.
Like wow.
Everybody gave up on the thought process of the trade or whatever. With the Kyrie situation.
Yes.
And Flex said, nah, it wasn't over. That, KD still wanted to go to Phoenix and all this other stuff. And like, he had no reason. I mean, unless he was trying to double down on his L and just come out and say that, like, I don't think that you would go that route.
No, he didn't waffle at all. He didn't waffle at all and be like, oh, well, I thought, he was like, nah, this is what it is. And the fact that he was bold enough to be like, not only is he going to demand a trade, but Phoenix is his preferred destination. That shit was like shooting up heroin, bro. Like that makes you feel a certain type of way. And when he said that, I'm thinking, why would he put himself out on a ledge like that? And I'm not going to be mad at him if it doesn't work out. He's not the one negotiating. He can't control who we give up or what we acquire to give up or how hardball that the Nets are playing. He couldn't have predicted that, but
so
that's ballsy.
All right. I'm seeing a lot of interesting comments in the chat. Let's just put it that way. The Suns have full control. Okay. It doesn't matter if Ayton doesn't want to play for the Suns. If they sign him, if the offer sheet is signed, right, and the Suns match it, they own his rights, and he would sign that deal. It's not like he can say, "Well, I'm not going to play for you." He wants that money. He's not in the position where this is like his first major opportunity to get set for life. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to be like, I'm not playing for the Suns. I'm going to sit out and lose all my 33. No. The thing is like, he's playing for money here, and we've seen plenty of times where players get in fights with their coach, or there's things that happen, and then they mend the roads and they go about the business as is. It's not like Ayton's ever come out and said, I want to trade, right? He's pretty much been on radio silence this whole time, okay? He hasn't said shit. There's been stuff that came out in the media, but the fact is like, if this team gives you the max, right? They're the qualifying offer signed, whatever they match, you're getting the bag. You're getting the bag like you always wanted. So you come and play, and you got to mend fences. Is it ideal? No, but when people are saying, "Well, he wants out, so we got to just let him out," it's like, no,
it doesn't work like that. Let me remind everybody. Everybody likes Eric Gordon, right? We all been wanting Eric Gordon.
Dude, I thought about that today.
Think about when Eric Gordon was a young buck and he had more bounce in his game, and he was looking like he was going to be an all-star, a perennial all-star, right? Mm-hmm. He's playing for, was it the Pelicans or were they the Bobcats?
Pelicans.
Were they Pelicans? Okay.
Yeah, it was Pelicans.
So he comes to Phoenix. We roll out the red carpet. We got banners, like 100-foot banners in the city, just like as he comes in from the airport. You just like, we
People
made him
at the airport cheering him on.
We made him feel like he was Margot Robbie. Okay.
Fucking king status.
And he gets, and we threw the money at him, and he literally put it out there on social media, put it out there publicly. He said, Pelicans, please do not sign me.
Do not sign me.
Do not match. My heart is in Phoenix. He said those words. And the Pelicans were like, no, bitch, you're back. And then he was like, all right, okay. Over 100 mil, cha-ching. Played the rest of his time there for a long time.
He didn't say a goddamn thing, and nobody remembered it, dude.
So
yeah, I mean, people would be hard pressed to even remember that he was offered a contract in Phoenix, that he even said those things, but that's facts. It's facts.
Right.
He said, don't match.
Please don't match. He was like Kamala Harris. He said, don't come. Please don't come. And then the Pelicans the Pelicans were like, I'm gonna come, and then they paid him, you know. And so with DA, he hasn't given us any, like, he's not out here on, at least yet, saying don't match, please don't match. He's not saying that, you know.
No, he hasn't said shit.
I mean,
he's best friends with Bridges, right? So let's just say that the KD situation doesn't happen, because it's still far-fetched to see that this would happen. We'll pull up the Gambo tweet, which sounded like it was straight from Sarver's mouth or whatever. But you do have to factor in that, like, if they do run it back, there are a lot of scenarios that go into it. So there are players that you can still move to make your team better. You're not locked into just running it back strictly and losing McGee and all this other stuff. So he is best friends with, like, Bridges. They're real tight, you know, lots of friends that will make things a lot smoother, right? You don't have to move. You get in this bag. You got your friends there. You have some meetings with the coaches. You kind of talk it out and say, hey, yeah. We get, you know, it was a shit situation that had a shit sandwich that we all ate. That game 7 versus Dallas, but let's move forward and let's try to make this shit work. We'll try to, you know, include you more into the offense or whatever they want to say to make things better. And then you just go forward. Now, worst case scenario, if you have some issues, you can trade DA in January. But the issue with that, there's always caveats. Ayton is going to have a lot of say, actually, because he can veto trades. Okay, so if the qualifying offer is signed, we match. You can't trade him till January, and then if we want to trade him to wherever it is,
he's got a no trade clause, deadline, like, or he can block trades.
He can veto trades, so he can fuck up your trades, but at the same time, if the scenario is where it just got to a point where the Suns are like, he doesn't want to be here and we want to trade him, then you could still trade him for assets. And then arguably his value would be higher at that point because it's the trade deadline. Teams are wanting to get better or whatever can happen instead of just losing him for nothing, right? I mean, it's just, there's no scenario that happens where you lose DA and you get no return. The Suns are not going to do that. So that's out of the question. Now we have, what is it? It's 8:00 almost on the East Coast. You have till midnight to get something done when it comes to a sign and trade. And honestly, I don't see anything happening with a sign and trade because, you know, based off of what I've heard from my sources, no, I'm just kidding. I don't have sources. What I've heard from like other thing, you know, the local radio stuff, no interest on the Indiana side for sign and trade. And then the same with the Suns. They don't really like what Indiana has that would be coming back. You know, like I said, people are always talking about Miles Turner. And I'm like, dude, Miles Turner, man, I don't know. He does some good things, but he has 1 year left on his contract. I'm pretty sure Brooklyn doesn't want his bum ass. You know what I'm saying? He's good, but not for the money. And it's just like, that doesn't really get you anywhere. Like you're talking about Duarte. They're not going to, I don't feel like they're giving up those young players like Tyrese Halliburton or any of those are out of the question. So they're just trying to give you scraps back, you know? So if you're James Jones, you can't just be getting trade raped and be like, all right, let's move forward with this, because it's like, obviously with sign and trades in general, you're getting like 75 cents on the dollar. You're not getting full return. So the best, we talked about this before, Gabe, We said the best scenario if things don't work out is to just give to match and then have Ayton as an asset, right? Isn't that what we
Right.
came to conclusion about?
Yeah. It's absolutely preferable to losing him for nothing. Not when you pulled one of the most boneheaded decisions of all time. Only probably second to Bowie over Jordan by taking DA over Luka. So for all the Dallas fans or just really all the haters, like both of us, and I think including Sundo, if he's being honest, bro, we lament more than anything not taking Luka. It is the gift that keeps on shitting on our chests.
Dude, I think I was the dude that I'm not trying to like toot my horn, but I think I came to that conclusion before a lot of people, because a lot of people were in that like denial stage, because obviously you don't want to be the people that made the like Bowie decision over Jordan, right, or whatever. It hurts.
It's just Ayton isn't anywhere near as bad as Bowie. Ayton's really good, but Luka
It doesn't
is.
matter how good Ayton is. He doesn't even fucking. He's not measurable to what Luka is as a player, you know. So it is that scenario where, fuck, man, you have a generational player, and the coach that was the coach at the time was his coach over there in Europe or whatever, and you went with Ayton. And the thing is like, he's not a bust, obviously, since he's getting a max offer sheet, but it's like Luka is that LeBron type player, whatever, generational.
The real version of generational.
But like, if you talk to the fan base and even our shows or whatever, we were just still being like, well, we made the finals first. We did this. He fits this team better. And we're making all these excuses, right? Well,
Yeah.
damn. I mean, and then it's like, before Luka put it on us this last playoffs and kind of humbled the whole fan base and the team and everything else. It was that scenario because we had the record on them. Every time we played the Mavs, we fucking shit on them. We went to the finals first. So yeah, it was looking like we made the right decision until we got knocked out by that team in the second round. And you know what I'm saying? So, and then Luka was unstoppable. So, I mean, we put that to bed, right? So that was the mistake that was made there. So yeah, as an organization, you can't compound that mistake and lose Ayton for nothing. That's stupid. Like, imagine anybody trying to sell that. Sarver, right. James Jones, anybody. And they'd be like, hey, but you're freeing up cap. Look at all this cap space we're going to have in the non-luxury taxpayer exception. It's like, dude, shove all that up your ass. We don't care about that.
I want to break the fourth wall. Can I do that? So, well, you know, we got a lot of people. Exactly. Well, I was thinking Rick Sanchez, but we got a lot of people in here that aren't Suns fans that are here to, you know, waft in the beauty of the Suns' failure and everything. And I don't know, like, it is what it is, man. Like, we see it too. You know, like somebody was saying that we're an easy second round. Kid Indy says we're an easy second round exit. Absolutely. And let me explain why. Because it is now known that Chris Paul can be taken out of the game. You just put a long defender with good cardiovascular strength on him and guard him full court press, just him all game, and Chris Paul's done. Right? Is that wrong, Sundo?
I'm not Sundo, but
Sundo, because Sundo's literally on the screen right now. The name. Go ahead.
No, but yeah, you're correct. I mean, we made our bed with CP3. It's one of those double-edged swords because he got us to the mountaintop or whatever. Without him, because before that, people were just forget that we're fucking garbage for 10 years plus. Just bottom dwellers, right?
Absolutely.
Jokes of the NBA, drafting Marquise Chris and fucking the Morris twins and losing, and just getting our backs blown out in the first game by like 60 and getting our coach fired the next day, right? People forget all of that because it's like, what have you done for me lately? Or we're just looking at recency bias, but the Suns were dog shit for a decade. Okay, and then we did the bubble run, and then we made this trade for CP3, and then it was like a skyrocket rise to the top, and we didn't end up winning the championship, but like from where you were to where, like dog shit to playing in the finals, which you weren't. The last time you made the finals was in '93 with Charles Barkley. So yeah, Chris Paul did some good things, but he's been exposed. It's like Achilles tendon, right? You're fighting this dude, and then you find out, or like Superman, you figure out kryptonite's his weakness. Well, what do? Get some fucking kryptonite and throw it in his face. Right?
I remember exactly what I wanted to say, bro. I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. Like I'm looking at Twitter right here, and I see a picture of LeBron dressed up for the Suns' downfall. The thing I want to say is I get it. All right, this ain't gonna win me any. This isn't gonna get me any brownie points with Suns fans, right? Suns fans probably won't like me saying this, but Suns fans are on average. There's some really, really good ones out there. Some really good, smart Suns fans, but a lot of Suns fans wild out. Like they don't have no house training. Like they don't know how to act. They don't know how to handle winning. Perfect example would be something like the type of receivers you remember Calvin Johnson? Dude would get into the end zone and would just hand the ball to the ref every time. He never acted, he never broke it down. He never grittied on nobody. None of that. Because why? He's fucking Megatron. This dude was built to score. Ain't nothing new to him. But Suns fans acted like they ain't never scored. When I scored my first touchdown, bro, I scored one touchdown in 8th grade, okay? Caught a pass, took it to the hizzy. You had a Sharpie in your underwear and you signed the ball. Gave it to some kid and he was like, I don't want this shit. No, I ran into the end zone, did like a U-turn and ran back to damn near the 50-yard line. And it was like the moment of my life. Why? I'd never done it before. And I knew I was never going to do it again.
Just
and Suns fans are out here dancing, making music videos,
parades for winning
and then also in my opinion Booker is turning himself into Baker Mayfield only with talent. Like
Booker, dude.
Booker's just ruining all of his goodwill. Like whispering that, like, okay, when he went down and looked at the camera, it was like, Luka's special. That shit, I get it. I get why you guys hate Suns fans. I get why you want the Suns' downfall. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of the way we act. And I know you aren't either. And Suns fans, if you hear this, chill out. Maybe have some humility. Maybe remember where we came from a little bit. Go ahead.
It's like I said, it's recency bias, and it's like Booker obviously is doing some things right since he got the Supermax contract. He's on the cover of 2K. He just won a gold medal. He's dating with one of the most premier chicks, even though, you could say whatever you want. The dude's just catching W's.
He said premier chicks. Go on.
So Booker, so the thing is he caught major fucking L's, dog. The whole team did. It was like a humble pie. And I don't know how he doesn't bounce back from it and be more humble, because like you look at Steph Curry, he does the same shit, but he backs it up with championships, right? So like during the finals, he's doing the sleeping thing, you know what I'm saying? Like when they're up, and like players do that, but you got to back it up or you look like an asshole.
Absolutely.
So Booker at that time, when he was doing that, he felt legitimately like they were going to back it up. Pause.
That's true.
Like they were going to back up what they were going to do. And then it would be a non-issue, because if you're cocky like that, and then you do something like if he did that and the Suns won the series, nobody would have batted an eye.
Right.
Period. Right? It would have just been water under the bridge. They would have made memes about the Suns owning Luka like they do. It's sports. There's players that are cocky like that and do shit like that and don't back it up, and that's when you look like an asshole. So it's like, yeah, I lost a level of respect for Booker when he did that, but I think he's young and I think he can learn lessons just like any other player. And I think he will learn lessons to not do that shit because that's embarrassing. It's like if you're going to go that route and do those things, you better make sure you're going to back it up. That's it. And it's just like he has some things to learn, but obviously I'm never going to go. Booker literally did things to turn around this franchise that a lot of people just gloss over because they talked about him. It was comparing him and Donovan Mitchell. It's not even a comparison anymore. Okay. Booker, what he was doing in the NBA finals was historic. It's like he was going off in his first NBA finals and they're saying Jason Tatum's better. Booker had a better performance in his first finals than Tatum, and it's not even close.
Much.
So it's like, yeah, did he have a bad performance or series with the Mavs? Sure. But he is that guy. He's on the sports. He's on the cover of 2K. He's getting super max deals. And the fact is he stayed with the team in an era where it would be easy for him to be like, well, the Suns suck ass, so I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? I'm sticking around. He is an actual player that connects with the Valley, like with it. It's just he's prideful for the Phoenix area, right? The way he drives, the Latino people, his Latino background and stuff. There's a connection there. With like players like Steve Nash or anything like that, they could give a fuck less about Phoenix in reality. And that's why I really don't give a fuck about Nash because he was never connected on that level. He never gave a fuck about the Valley or living there.
Oh, about Nash?
Anything.
Yeah.
Nash, yeah. He was all about New York and this and that. And the minute he had an opportunity to leave, he went to the Lakers and fucking, the story's there. So Booker, for what he did with this franchise when it was absolute dog shit and taking it to the heights that he has where players want to go play with him, because the first domino to fall was CP3. CP3 wanted to play with Booker. And guess who's getting the Durant talks to go to this level? Oh, it's Booker again. It's not like he's going to form a super team with some other fucking squad. They're going outside of Phoenix, which would be the easier route to take. No, he did his thing, showed out, became on the level that he is, and now superstars want to come. He actually
attracted. He turned us into like a hunk, man. He made us sexy. And so we're attracting talent now. People fucking hate it, bro.
So that's why people hate it, okay? They hate that Durant chose us, okay? All these other teams that wish that they even get to the table with Durant and they would even think about going to their team, they're pissed off that Durant has Phoenix as his destination of choice because they know what that would mean potentially if he teamed up. And that's why people don't want to see it. They don't want to see it.
Woj bomb, bro.
All right.
Don't you feel like Blazers Uprise reporting on a Woj bomb?
Yes.
Restricted free agent Deandre Ayton has signed the 4-year, $133 million offer sheet with the Pacers. Sign and trade. It's going to says expectations remain that the Suns will do so, that they will match it and retain Ayton, but they could take the process through Saturday night. So first of all, guys, please, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. Roy, how many likes do we have, man? We need to set a goal. Let's slap these likes a little bit. Okay, so to reiterate your genius earlier, the Phoenix Suns, I can do it for you, but the Phoenix Suns wanted to sign Deandre Ayton to a 4-year max contract 2 seasons ago. After the finals versus the Bucks. That's what we offered him. We said, sir, we'll give you 4 years. He said, me want 5. We said, okay, well then we'll come back to this later. And we came back to this later, and guess what the Suns are about to get? a 4 instead of 5 year max deal. So the Suns are actually getting exactly what they want. It doesn't have to mean that the Suns didn't value Ayton. It's that they were playing hardball. And okay, Tori says this contract will have 5% raises to Suns contract offer. Would have been 8% raises. Okay, but also, Tori, last season, we didn't have to pay him a max. We still had him on his cheaper deal. So that was a whole year we basically got for near free. And then now we get 1 year off the contract. I'm pretty sure we're going to be okay. I think it'll be fine. I think we're going to come out with money.
So,
all
right. So this is going the way we said it would go, right? Because I pretty much said the sign and trade was off the table, even though there was some time period, because they had 2 weeks to get a sign and trade done. And if they couldn't come to terms with any of these teams, specifically Indiana, to do a sign and trade, it wasn't going to happen within these hours that are left or whatever. So Ayton's he's going to sign. He signed the offer sheet, and then it's coming back to us. They have 48 hours to deal with it. So it'd take you into Saturday night. They can take their time with it or whatever they want to do, because the writing's on the wall. They're not going to just let him walk. So they're going to sign him, and then they're going to have the responsibility of trying to make it work.
Bro, what's that going to be like? They're saying that this is Woj is saying that this is the largest offer sheet in NBA history.
Yep.
Like, bruh, as a Bears fan, let me tell you what happened to Jay Cutler when we made him the highest paid quarterback. Everybody turned on his ass. Everybody hated his guts.
Hey, no, here's the deal. You thought that Ayton was under a fucking microscope before? Every game is gonna be a fucking clusterfuck on Twitter. Can you imagine? Ayton is getting this fat contract, 33 record contract, and then he has a game where he goes 12-5. It looks like he's not into it.
And you're giving this to a guy who your coach looked at and said, "You quit on us. You quit on us. Hey, make him the highest paid player of all time. You quit."
It's not the highest payer. It's the offer.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of things that go into this, because if you look at it, so if the KD stuff doesn't happen, they need to make major moves. I would say they need to make, so Crowder, they need to trade him for some kind of a backup point guard or whatever. But if you're following like Flex and everybody else, there's other people, not just Flex. And what Gambo said, you can pull up his tweet if you have Gambo's account. He just talked about how the Suns are willing to pay the tax. And it's not just like slightly pay the tax. What he was saying, in Gambo, he's well respected on radio with sources and stuff, and he's dialed in. Like, if he has an opportunity to like squash rumors and shit on the idea of things happening, he just does that. He doesn't like beat around the bush. But when he made a bold statement and said the Suns are willing to do whatever it takes to win a championship, and that he said 60, 70, 80, went up to like 100 million in luxury tax. They're willing to do that. Now, is that cap? I don't know, but they're going to be paying the luxury tax just with this Ayton deal. I don't know specifically how much they're going to be paying into it. It's obviously not that high, but they're already going to be luxury taxpayers with Ayton, because you have Ayton making, a certain amount. You have Chris Paul making a ridiculous amount. Booker just signed, it's just all these players are getting paid. So it's going to be severely difficult to make the KD trade happen, but there's still, people brought up the odds that the Phoenix Suns are, the favorites still to land KD, and they could still make it happen. But I want to ask you, like, if you pull up the players that would be required to make this trade happen, so you trade Mikal, you trade Cam Johnson, you trade Crowder, you'd be trading all these players just to make the salary work. And it's like, you're paying 4 players all this money. Are you going to be able to form a team that's going to be able to compete with just minimum guys? Because that's essentially what you're going to have.
Right.
Left. Like,
I mean,
so if your
go ahead.
team's gutted to fuck, and you have CP3, Book, DA, and KD, and then minimum players all around, like, is that going to get the job done for you? I think so. I mean, I think you can make it work, but
I would do it, bro. I mean, putting those three on the court together and then still having Bismack, like Chris Paul. Okay, we still have to figure out the backup point guard unless Campaign decides he's actually going to play well like he used to, because in my opinion, Chris Paul is negatable, completely negatable, I don't know, but he makes minimum players so much better. Chris Paul makes minimum players like MLE players, he really does.
It'd be like players like Broad Shoulders, what's his name?
Braun.
No, sharp nose motherfucker that was playing in the summer league. What's his name?
Sharp nose player. What team?
Name, dude?
What team did he play for?
The Suns. He's in the Suns summer league
right now.
He's like a wannabe. God damn it! I can't.
You talking about Louis King?
Oh my God! Let me pull the roster up.
What race is he? Let's just
let's
narrow it down.
Let's start and end with his race.
Start and end. Are you talking about Ish?
Ish, yeah.
Big Daddy Ish. See, we still got Big Daddy Ish. Okay, so
you'd be having players like that.
And Torrey Craig's still on the roster.
Because Mikal would be gone. Who would be guarding the best offensive player on the opposing team every night? Like
that's
Mikal's gone,
right?
It's like Booker going to be guarding the best player, and then that's tough. And then Cam Johnson would be gone. Jay Crowder would be gone. A bunch of players.
Josh Okogie. Josh Okogie. Thank you, Sons and 8. We got Josh Okogie, and me and Sundo. I hate to break it to you, but that's me and Sundo's new guy. That's our. Yep. He's really mostly defense, but his defense is phenomenal, bro. So I don't know if he's not going to start, but he's the guy that you play defensively on somebody. Torrey hates Okogie, but he's 23.
So we have the signings. What we've done this offseason, we got Damian Lee, who's a bum. We got this Okogie guy. We got
Jock Landale,
Saltiest Gaming center. We signed Bismack. We brought him back. Dario Saric is coming off his ACL. And then from that standpoint, that would be because Landry Shamet, if you're trying to do a DA, because like you could pull up the trade machine thing or whatever you want to do, it'd be significant amounts of your squad going to, New Jersey to make it work. And I think that what New Jersey was asking for was ridiculous. And obviously they're asking the world for KD, but this might bleed into the season. Like if KD, so let's say nothing gets done and KD still wants to go to Phoenix. Hell, I mean, trade deadline comes up. Like you can figure something out. Like this doesn't all end this offseason, right? I think I don't want it to go into, the season, but I think it's going to be a clusterfuck if KD goes back and let's say that Kyrie's gone and he has Ben Simmons to play with. Like, how successful is that team going to be?
Bring it back to what Flex said, because Flex has been the most accurate of anybody. He said the whole time, man, this doesn't have, like, DA is not a part of the situation. Mm-hmm. Apparently he went at, I can't remember who it was, but somebody from Phoenix Sports Network, shout out to them, went after him and was saying like, okay, like he's like, well, doesn't this still make it more difficult? And Flex is like, if you say so, like Flex is, you know what I'm saying? Like Flex has been consistent on this, that it's Saul Bookman. Yeah. Shout out to Saul Bookman. He's a cool guy. But this was supposedly a part of the plan the entire time, is that it's not going to be involved with DA because DA would have hard capped the Nets to a point to where they couldn't get any better. It would just be DA and whatever they have. They're like done making moves, you know? So I'm still fine believing in that. Like, I don't feel like Flex has been a liar. And so if that's the case, then that means it's going to have to come down to Mikal, Cam Johnson, probably Dario or Crowder or Craig or all of them and all of our picks. And the Nets are just going to have to take the best offer available. And no one's really offering very much better than that, to be honest.
So salary speaking, if you did Mikal, Jay, and Cam Johnson for Kevin Johnson
Coming back.
For Kevin Durant, it would work. So those 3 players plus pick swaps, all that other stuff. So I just think that, like I said before, if Kevin Durant's gone dark, which he has, and he draws a hard line in the sand, he says, I want to go to Phoenix, and he's pretty much made that clear. It's like, yeah, you have the advantage as the team, as you know, the team has the advantage, obviously, because he's locked under contract. But if you're getting Mikal Bridges back, Cam Johnson, 2 really, Mikal Bridges specifically, and then an expiring contract with Jay, and then you get all these picks back, it's like, we'll see what happens. But I still think that the deal can be done. And
I do
something
too.
Like that.
Can I tell you why I think the deal can still get done?
What's up?
Because I believe that the Brooklyn Nets are just playing really good hardball. I don't think the Nets want to bring back Kyrie and KD. I mean, they'd love to bring KD back, but at what expense, man? Like, you hold them on, like, they're not going to be good next year.
Sham bomb. Bring him up.
Breaking news.
Oh, shit.
Get down, motherfucker.
Who is this? That's not Sham.
Who is that?
We could bring her back up on the screen later if we need to. The Phoenix Suns have matched. That didn't take long. It was the plan all along.
They were waiting for
there you
Amazon
go.
Prime Day. They just had to wait for a deal, man.
They were waiting for the Suns Valley podcast to be live.
They wanted to drop those bombs live on air. You don't get this anywhere else. Okay?
I mean, to be fair, they could get it other places. Let's not lie. Let's not lie to them.
Let's just say that you get it at other places, all right? But let's hit the like button.
Please.
Like 100 likes. So
100 likes would be great.
News, my friend. How do you feel?
Good. Better. I feel better.
I feel good. I'm going to tell you why I feel good.
Please do.
Number one, this puts us over the cap, right? So it's like you're playing chess, right? We already talked about it. They're playing 4D chess at this point. So Indiana did what they needed to have done. This is like a domino falling, and they're already going into the tax. They're going to be taxpayers, which they haven't been in 10 years. So that in itself shows that Sarver is willing to do what Gambo said, because if it was the old cheap Sarver, what would he do? He'd tell Amari that he could replace him the next day and fucking get Hakeem Warwick and some other bullshit and like off-brand Dr. Pepper for the
Hey, dude,
fans
Turkaloo.
and I'm telling you, dude, like, I don't know what's going to happen with this NBA investigations, but like, if Sarver wants to play ball and show the other owners like he's committed and wants to shake off that fucking cheapskate tag, he just signed Booker. You start paying luxury tax, like he's gonna, and you pay into like what they're saying. Like, if he goes fucking like $80 to $100 million into the tax, shit, I mean, you might change the narrative for myself. Because at that point, you're showing we're going to do whatever it takes to win a fucking championship, because the Warriors aren't worrying about how much they're in the tax. because you know how much money they get back in playoff revenue and all this other shit? Like being one of the most competitive teams out there and winning championships, that brings you a lot of moolah. I mean, playoff games in themselves.
Absolutely.
Everything, man. I mean, so
they're going to recoup that money. This is a 64-win team that we're bringing back now. And all we really lost was Mavale Jagee.
Bro,
like, that's it.
We're going to talk about this because we have a lot to talk about. Hit the like button. My Holy King says, why did the Pacers have to do that? Now, I don't know if you're saying that because you don't want DA on this team. The Indiana Pacers are the Indiana Pacers. When the last time have they ever gotten a fucking star, right, in free agency? Who's going to Indiana?
No one's going there.
So they had to shoot their shot. I'm sure that because they were saying that Indiana hasn't ever signed a qualifying offer since like fucking forever. This is like the second one in 40 years or something. And what it does is like, number one, I don't think the Suns are going to want to do business with the Indiana Pacers anymore because it's kind of like them stabbing them in the back, right? Essentially, if you sign a qualifying offer, you're forcing the other team or whatever. They're just trying to shoot their shot. They were trying to put like that toxic pill or whatever the fuck you call it, like making the contract a record qualifying offer. And they were just praying and hoping that all the reports were true, that the Suns did not value DeAndre Ayton as a max player. And they would just say, well, this is too rich for our blood. We're just going to let him walk for nothing. And that's not happening, dude.
Nope.
So yeah, the Indiana Pacers tried with Gabe. We got to talk about how fast the Suns matched the offer.
Hey,
what does that tell you?
It tells me that your hypothesis was exactly accurate.
My inside source. I'm now an inside. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it brings me back to what you said about Booker. How come whenever it was time to give Booker a max and then a super max, it was like the clock strikes midnight and they're like, here's your contract, sir, Mr. Booker. And they didn't do that with DA. This is kind of that version. As soon as they got the news, like that shit happened within 20 minutes. That shows some conviction.
Yeah, because they could have easily just said, all right, well, we have 48 hours. Let's draw this out, right? Because they're upset that it didn't go their way. God damn it, we have DA. We got to, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's just draw it out. It's like, no. You guys did your move. Now it's our move. We're signing him. We're going to mend the broken fucking bridges or whatever. And we're gonna go about our business. Now, this has a ripple effect over the organization, okay? Because there is a life past CP3. When do you think that is, Gabe? How long do you think that's gonna be until CP3 is not on this team?
We got 2 years, bro.
Maybe.
But if we could
he
just
might be gone after this year. He might be gone after this year, honestly.
Yeah.
He might hang it up. So, what does life look like post CP3? And I think that DA could be a huge focal point of this team. I think that you could possibly have a new coach, maybe. I just think that DA could show his value. And if you what's up?
Got another sham bomb.
All right, what's up?
The Suns made clear throughout free agency that the franchise intended to bring Ayton back and were committed to spend in order to continue competing for a title around NBA All-Star, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and Ayton. Phoenix now goes approximately $15 million into the tax.
And that's just the beginning for them. According to Gambo,
your sources.
Like I said, according to my sources, I just got off the phone with them, okay? So you got to be patient. But they're willing to. So the Suns haven't been in the tax for like 10 years since Nash was here. And it was just barely in the tax. You guys just got to picture how cheap Sarver is as a motherfucker. I'm cheap. But this guy puts the cheap in cheap. There's rumors that he went off-brand Dr. Pepper to save some money. All right? So it's just this dude has had opportunities to go into the tax, and he's made every attempt to avoid it. And then what they're saying right now, which is very interesting, It's like, man, how does Sarver go from a dude that avoided the tax like the plague to someone that's willing to go like 100 mil into luxury tax? How does that happen, Gabe?
Wouldn't it be funny if all of these cancellation attempts have just forced him into being on his best behavior?
Actual owner.
He's like, please don't cancel me. Oh, God, who wants money? Yeah, I'll pay anybody. Please.
We get KD over here. We'll go 100 million over the tax. Fuck.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, he bought the team and it was worth what? Like in the millions, and now NBA franchises are worth billions.
Right.
Like LeBron was talking about how he wanted to own an NBA team. I was like, yeah, that's all good and well, but it's like the gentleman's club of NBA owners. It's like you don't just fall into that.
Right.
So like I'm sure Sarver's trying to do whatever it takes to make sure that the ownership group doesn't fucking vote his ass out, because remember Donald Sterling's racist ass got out with the quickness. So they have the ability. I mean, it's tough, but it's
there's
just
precedent.
weird for me. It's weird for me as a fan that's always known Sarver as this cheap motherfucker to see this type of move, because before Sarver would have let Ayton walk and there would have been an explanation how they sold it. It would have been like the Amari contract.
A big part of me thought that it could happen. A big part of me thought they might actually let him walk.
Because that's Sarver, right? And then they would try to sell you, oh, we're getting all this cap space, guys, and we can get a free agent. And then the free agents never come, right? And then you just have this wasted resource, this wasted opportunity, no matter what. And that's the difference here, because sons of old would not have made this deal because they would have been into the tax. 15 million of the tax. And the way the luxury tax works, it goes from like 75 cents on the dollar to whatever. You hit this threshold, then you're paying like more.
We got a flex tweet. Apparently we've got a flex tweet.
They need to, I mean, what would you call that? You got
flex bomb. All right. I'm listening closely. Trust me. That's not really much of a. It's not really much of a update.
I mean, but he's just trying to tell people that they're wrong.
So 4 hours ago, he said the Suns are on the clock. This has always been a possibility, and the Suns will move according to this Ayton situation. Once again, this does not end their pursuit of Kevin Durant. Things are finally moving. Nothing more, nothing less. You know, that probably really hits Torrey Jones right in the breadbasket. You know what I'm saying? How do you feel about that?
Trust me, people are praying that what we're saying is not going to happen.
Tell them why, Saul.
The KD situation is just never going to happen. No way.
Tell them why they're praying we don't get Durant.
Misery loves company, man. I mean,
well, it's like
that's the bottom line.
Because who wants the Suns to get him when you know that means going into next season that greatly diminishes the likelihood of your team winning the title? It's like it's a big problem for every other team. That's why they don't want it. So they can disguise it however they want and play it as however they want to. Oh, no, I'm just saying it's not right. And Katie's a snake and I've never liked snakes. Oh, would you let that snake crawl into your yard? That's what I thought. Of course you would. All of you would take that snake and let him weasel his way into your yard and maybe bite you at some point. But you would take the risk, and you know it. All of you know it. So, I don't care what team you are. This Celtics guy in here, you'd take KD. The Raptors guys, you'd take KD. And you are all hoping and praying that we don't get him.
Anybody that would say, fuck KD, I don't want him in Portland, like Rip City or anybody, is cap. That's all cap. This dude is a generational talent. Like, you could say whatever you want. Like, he picked his destination with the Nets, and shit didn't work out, and he's going to request a trade, and he's this or that. Nah, man. This guy's generational. And if you have a chance to get a generational player, anybody in their right fucking minds would get him. You know? Any team in the association. It's just whether or not you have. You have the opportunity, because the difference between teams winning championships and not winning it is you got to take some risks. Like there's huge risks involved if you're going to try to do a KD. You're going to gut your team and it could not work out. But if you don't go for that, I mean, it's still status quo. You haven't won a championship. So you got to do different things. You got to pay into the luxury tax. You got to you got to take chances. Now, if we just run it back, what's the scenario to you that would have to happen if we didn't get KD to give the Suns a chance to get past the second round or go, to be championship contenders or whatever in a tough West, even just around the league? What do you think they'd have to do?
I don't know, man. I really don't. Flex tweeted again. The Suns handled that Ayton situation quickly and will continue their pursuit of KD. They can and are willing to deal with the tax bill that follows. They've been prepared for this situation the entire time. Nothing today was a shock or game changer. Choking on my own dry throat here. Pause. Stay tuned. Well, Flex said, right, Tori? Come on.
No, I think people are always going to hate on Flex or whatever. We were hating on him, but it comes to a certain point where you got to give him his due. So I still think that until a team makes a trade for KD, that the Suns are the favorites to get him. And I think it's either going to go to, the Suns pull off a trade, or KD will go back to Brooklyn, honestly. And then that shit will go sideways.
South. Absolutely. If he goes back to Brooklyn, they're going to start losing because there's going to be absolutely no chemistry. Honestly, I'm worried about the Suns' chemistry.
I think they can. I mean, they've had some of the best chemistry in sports before this shit happened.
I mean, Monty told Ayton, "You quit on us." He, like I've said before, Ayton played the good soldier all year. He allowed himself to be the fourth option. You pointed it out more than anyone that if you were him, you would be salty and throwing shit in their face like, yo, motherfuckers, pass me the ball. What are you doing? I have 20 points in the first quarter. Give me the ball. That's what you'd be saying. That's what I'd be. He never did that. He was a nice guy. He was a cool guy.
So,
and then come playoffs, you're getting your back blown out by Luka, and then they want to blame him and be like, oh, well, he's not dominating. Bitch, you never asked him to dominate before, but now it's his fault?
So what's one of the biggest signs of respect in the league is money. They paid him, dude. If they really didn't value him that much, like people were saying, like Brian Windhorse, motherfucker, they don't value him as a max player and all this shit that they were saying. In reality, it doesn't matter what the scenario was. Like, if they really didn't like Ayton, they wouldn't have matched the fucking deal that fast. If
they didn't even have to think about it,
because they are still investing a huge amount of money and they're going into the taxpayers' area for a player. So that in itself, if I was Ayton, no matter what, I think the team in general just has a lot of things they needed to talk through, because they're more talented than the Mavs. They should have beat them, but they had some issues with their minds and being overconfident, all this other stuff. And shit happens, but the team committed to you with max money. They signed it. They signed it real quick. So it's like mend those fences and find a way to make the shit work. You're a professional. You're getting paid fucking huge amount of money. And it's like, like I said, he's friends with all the teammate. You know what I'm saying? Bridges is his best friend. If he doesn't get traded or any of that shit, it's like they value you as a max player. They signed the fucking contract.
Exactly. It's kind of like when it's
thing. That's it.
You know what it's not unlike, bro, is when you're going through the process of deciding if you're gonna, get engaged and actually get married or just keep dating the girl. And like she's like, yo, why aren't you committing to me? And then you finally go out, get that ring, and get on one knee. That shit, that moment of getting on one knee and giving that ring can undo a lot of shit you put her through, and it wipes away a lot of anguish, because she's like, well, this speaks louder than words. This action, I know now, there's certainty now, and we gave him that certainty. He just wanted one extra year, and he lost the negotiations because we played super duper hardball, so we didn't have to get him for 4 years, but we're still getting him for 5 because we had him last year. Wouldn't it have started last year? Wouldn't his 5-year thing have started last year if we signed him last year?
It adds on to your contract. So, I mean, I don't know.
Okay. But still, we got what we wanted. Exactly what we asked for.
It's essentially what they wanted. I mean, if he was more flexible or whatever, he would have got that bag earlier, because it was just a year's thing. They wanted to give him 4 years max, and he ended up getting 4 years fucking max. And I think what it comes down to is Ayton's a person. And he talked about like how he deals with depression and stuff like that. Like, the Suns base have been hyper focused on Ayton because he was the number 1 pick. And it's like, no matter what he's doing behind the scenes, he's always going to be under that microscope. And there's a lot of people, like expert wises, like I was saying, like Brian Windhorst of the world, they're putting it out there that the Suns don't value you from a max standpoint. Well, that's all out the fucking window now.
Right. That's all bullshit.
You just got signed a max deal by your team. They committed to you. So any doubt that he had in his mind needs to go away, because they value you. They paid you a lot more than fucking Mikal Bridges, dude. Like, you got your max deal. You're set up. Make it work. And like I said, they have the leadership in place to mend the fences, to make it work. Because like, if you're a player and you're waiting for that bag, your first contract extension, that's a big weight off his shoulders, especially like the 2 weeks that he had to wait. That shit must have been hell, because you have all these teams going off the board, and people saying you're not worth the max or whatever. And then finally he gets this offer sheet, he signs it, and the Suns instantly match it. So it's like all the contract shit is gone. Like, he doesn't have to worry about that. So it's like, now you got your setup. So play as a max player, make it work within the offense. And I don't think they would have signed him to this deal if they didn't have all that in mind, right?
Definitely.
Like trying to fix things with him.
And also, to be honest, remember how they just pretty much haven't done anything during free agency because they're so hyper focused on just trying to get KD, and it seems like they've just been watching everyone pass by. I don't think they would have signed DA so quickly to this deal if they didn't feel like they could still get KD. If DA was going to prevent them from getting KD, I don't think they would have done it, and I definitely don't think they would have done it that quickly.
Mm-hmm. No, it was always part of the plan, and that's why the sign-in trade was never an option with Indiana. Like, they didn't. It's just all this stuff was happening. I'm sure they tried to get stuff done with a sign-in trade with KD involved, because that was their focus, and that's why it was taking so long. But this is the first domino to fall, honestly. I mean, now the Suns need to focus on making the things that were issues last year non-issues, or trying to fix those things, because we still have major flaws in our team. We need to, because they talked about that, and there's some players that came off the board and stuff, but they could still make deals, right? Crowder has an expiring contract. They have a lot of enticing contracts, but they need to figure the situation out with Brooklyn, honestly, because
this was impeding. Couldn't this be what was the holdup? Is like, well, we want to do the KD stuff, but we're not ready to make our final offer until we figure out what we're going to be committing to DA.
I think that a lot of the NBA, just free agency in general, was held up because of DA, and the Suns as well. So I think that you have, this is going to be like the first domino that falls. You have Donovan Mitchell the rumors with him and like the Utah with New York and stuff like that. So I think the more things that happen and as we progress towards the season, then Brooklyn's going to be more desperate to get shit done, because if they don't, then they're going to just bring KD back. He's to be disgruntled, not want to play on the team. And then you have the Kyrie situation that's not solved. Like, what's going to happen to Kyrie? I mean, both of those players have shown that they don't want to be there. You don't want to commit to Kyrie or whatever. And then you have Simmons just sitting there. It's crazy for them, man. I mean, and there's a lot of teams that can't trade to Brooklyn because of Simmons, you know?
Right.
They can't trade certain players because of Simmons.
And that's why everything's been so difficult. But like, if you think about it, look at what the Suns' ceiling is like. Best case scenario, we go into the season and we don't have KD. We're bringing back a 64-win team minus JaVale McGee, who we ended up going away from anyways. And now we have Bismack, who's even more trusted, in my opinion, than JaVale, and Jock Landale to back up center, to be the third center, right? So you've got those guys. The center, we're bringing back a 64-win team who ran into a buzzsaw, and apparently they had COVID. Now, I mean, they're saying they caught COVID and they were sluggish and whatever. We know that Devin Booker was on fire. He's on fire. And in the first game, in like the second game, go ahead.
No, I don't want to cut you off, but
I'm just saying Booker was doing work.
Yeah. And then
he got injured.
And then another thing that people don't take into account is there's a shortened season. There's the bubble season. Then they had to make up for that by shortening the off season. And then the Suns, to compound that, they had to run to the finals. So it's like, and then after that, Booker went to the fucking Olympics. So it's like Booker had no time off. And it's just like that showed. And I think,
yeah, I'm saying that's the ceiling of what could happen if if everything goes right. Now, if everything goes wrong, if DA really just stops buying into what Monty's doing, and it kind of felt like Booker and CP3 weren't into Ayton. Their on court play with him didn't really seem like they were interested in him. What if there's a rift there still? Do we have to get rid of Chris Paul?
I think people that are saying that they're not going to be the same team are going to be eating crow, dude. This team is not – there's not a question if this team can win in the regular season. Those are two different things. So the Suns, from a power poll perspective, are going to be up there with all the top-tier teams in the West, okay?
I think so.
Barring injury. Now, it's just a question of what's going to happen in the offseason. Now, like I said before, if you look at the history of championship runs or teams that go to the playoffs, what happens the next year? Traditionally, they get bounced. Like the Bucks, what happened to them this year? They got bounced in the second round or whatever it was, same as us. What happened to Miami after their finals run? Or
got
the
bounced.
Lakers?
Bounced.
Lakers got fucking bounced
by us,
Miami
by campaign.
First round. You know, so it's like that year after they go to the finals is kind of a down year. And the Suns got to the second round, arguably should have went to the Western Conference Finals. They got fucking knocked in their mouth and their teeth. So then I think they're going to be motivated as a team and a squad, especially Chris Paul and Booker, because they fucking shit the bed in Game 7, and they're going to try to be proving people wrong, and they need to approach the regular season differently. They don't need to be chasing these regular season records or any of that. They need to focus on the playoffs and how to try to get through that. So maybe not focus on trying to break records, rest CP3 more, make a trade for a guard that can back up CP3. You still, you know what I'm saying? That's all.
Oh yeah, because we haven't done none of that yet, dog.
No,
we haven't done anything really that positive as far as fixing the exact problems we have. And the problems that we have is that we don't have people that can get their own bucket. They can, like, when Chris Paul is resting, campaign comes in and jacks up layups off the backboard. and then we start going down because people can't hit unless they're unless they're pass and catch, like catch and shoot. That's the only way any of our players score. And when Chris Paul isn't there to help you get your catch and shoot opportunities, we just don't have anything to offer. So like
the Utah Jazz are blowing shit up. You have Jordan Clarkson. You make a move for him. Who else? Schroeder. What are you?
I would take Schroeder
out there.
I would take Schroeder. I'd take Clarkson.
There's tons of good players to be had out there, man. And you could fill the roster out. The only thing that I'm worried about, and if I was James Jones, I would be like, look, dude, we all know that KD wants to come to the Suns. Let's get this shit done. Let's make this deal work and let's get it done. Because you can't do other shit if you're still trying to get KD, because you can't move assets that potentially would be in that trade.
Good point.
So they need to make this KD. Either you're going to get the KD deal to work or not. You got to tell Brooklyn, hey, we're going to be moving on, and your guy wants to come to our team, so you're going to be kind of fucked if that happens. So we both need to make this shit work. Let's make this work. If you come to the conclusion that you're out of the KD sweepstakes and this just not going to work, you need to focus on making your team better, getting yourself over the hump. So you can't just like fucking lollygag around and not make other deals. So I want to know, like, how long are you willing to wait and to have some of these players come off the board that potentially you could have made deals for, you know? Like, Absolutely. Are you willing to wait and keep waiting and waiting and waiting? No. You gotta make some changes to get better. So how long are you willing to wait, Gabe, for KD?
I can definitely see a world in which we go into this season. It reminds me of the Harden situation. There was all this flirting between Harden and the Sixers before it happened. And then it finally happened. Finally, there was an event. You know, Harden might have put the fat suit back on, the Big Mama's house suit, or whatever it was, to where he just started sucking and it wasn't working in Brooklyn. So they're like, all right, it ain't working. What's the best deal we can make? I could see that happening and the Suns getting KD at the trade deadline. Because if it ain't working there, and then they'll be forced to blow that shit up. But nobody's giving, like the Raptors, they could beat us in a package to the Nets. They could easily outwager us. You know, they can give up Barnes, which they won't. They're not doing it. They don't want to do it, and I respect that. They can give up Pascal Siakam. But then you look at, is KD going to say, nah, I ain't doing it. I'm not playing with Van Vliet and nobody else. I mean, they still have OG, but OG's probably going to have to be in that trade with what Brooklyn wants, with the massive amount of assets Brooklyn wants. So the Raptors aren't necessarily pulling that trigger. Like, I could see us being the last team standing. The Warriors aren't going to do it. Why would you do it if you're the Warriors? You just won the title without him. Why the hell would you do that?
Yeah, wreck your young core for what?
Exactly. The Heat, they don't want to give up Bam and or Jimmy and or both, and that's what the Nets are asking for, because they don't want Tyler Herro
anyway, because Simmons is on their team.
Right. They have complications. Mm-hmm. I could see it happening at the halfway point of the season, after January 15th, when we're actually allowed. But go ahead.
The KD deal happens pretty soon after all this, like to the Suns, or it drags out into the season. Like, I don't know. I just think that this was a domino that needed to fall, because the Suns are in this position where they're like, well, yep, we matched the Deandre Ayton situation. We're going to be in the cap. And no one ever thought that they were going to be going as far into the cap that Gambo said, fucking 100 million or whatever they said.
Yeah.
That was never an option. So the thought process was like, well, they don't even want to be in the, like, over the cap. So DeAndre Ayton is a questionable thing, but they signed that shit within 3 minutes. And it's like, well, KD can never happen now because the Suns don't want to go into the cap. Well, reports already out there that they're willing to do that.
Oh, yeah, we just went into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, You're already in there. Might as well have some fun.
So they
Might
need
as
to
well be willing to give up anything. Go ahead.
They need to mend the fences, and I'm sure they already have, dude. Like, are they in the process? Because you don't sign this deal without trying to have a fucking plan, dude. Like, you can't. This is massive. It's record breaking for the qualifying offer, just like you talked about. This is huge. He's a max player now. You're locked in, so you need to have a way to make him happy, make everybody else happy. But like I said, you can't just be sitting around and let the Dennis Schroeders of the world get snatched up, or Clarkson, if he could be had in a trade, just because you're waiting around for KD. So I think that KD situation needs to be resolved, like
Sooner rather than later.
Like, fucking find out if you're really gonna make it happen or not, dude.
And then what? Let everybody know. All right, it's not happening, or just make moves that make it apparent that it's not going to happen. I mean, you're right. It's this small window that we have for a title because Chris Paul is breaking down more and more every second. Yeah, that's interesting, man. You got
Boston Celtics are currently favored for the title. I know this doesn't mean anything.
I could see them. Yeah.
Los Angeles Clippers are going to be fucking crazy next year. The West is tough. The Suns need to do stuff, or they're not contenders, man, in my opinion. As is, like,
it is kind of exciting that it feels like things are going to start happening, bro. Like, remember when we were kind of thinking 4th of July for sure was going to be the day that we got KD. So we're just watching Twitter religiously, just updating. You wake up in the morning, immediately pull your phone, and you're like, oh my God, when my phone lights up, am I going to have like a chain of text messages from my friends telling me that we got KD? And then you open your phone and it's like nothing. Like, that's been how we've been feeling. Maybe now we're going to get some more excitement. I think I'm going to be looking at Twitter a lot, expecting something to happen now.
So Gamba just said, any potential deal for Kevin Durant, the Nets can't swap picks they don't have. Suns could trade first-round picks in a deal, but can't swap picks because their picks are headed to Houston. So that's something to think about.
So the swap's not going to work.
Pick swaps are not an option. You would just have to like make your picks unprotected for sure, like all of them. And you can't give picks in consecutive years. So it'd be like, we're giving you our first round pick in 2022, then 24, 26, 28. And I think 4 is max. So they would have to try to get another team involved or something. They can make it work, dude. And people are saying the Gobert trade fucked it up for everything because they got 4, I think, first-round picks for Gobert by himself. So they're like, well, what would KD get?
And a 5th one because they gave up who they picked in this draft.
It's true, but, I mean,
so
the fucking T-Wolves are stupid. That's dumb. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to not lose a player just like Joe Johnson back in the day, because it would have felt like that. If we would have got a sign and trade done, it still would have felt like that to me, or we let him walk. It's like, that's what the Suns would have done, not sign and match. That hasn't happened. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, the opportunity that we had with Joe Johnson was garbage. And then it's like the shit stick. We got the shit stick. And then Amari, we got the shit stick. We got Warwick. And, it's like this time, Ayton has his issues, but we got him locked up. He's part of that core, and it's important. So I think as long as we have this young core, we can make things happen. Okay. So it's like, are we contenders? Are we not? No, maybe not, but it's cool to have that decision or those discussions, because the Suns of old would have fucked things up, fucked their core up. And then they would have just been bottom dwellers, perennial fuck ups. So it's like, pay your players. That's exactly, because I said this before. The Warriors, for example, they don't let their players walk, or, they sign the shit and go over the cap, and they don't give a fuck. Then they get more talent. It's like, if you really want to win in this league, You got to do that shit. You got to lock up your young players. You got to have your core, and then you got to make good moves. So James Jones needs to stop shitting the bed with other moves and like actually make great moves to change what's going on to make us get over the hump, you know? So
let me ask you a question. I got Twitter up and Chris Paul's trending, and so is Durant. If Brooklyn, for whatever reason, okay, one of their leading options to get in replace of Kyrie, this is not going that I want Kyrie. I don't want Kyrie.
Fuck no.
Like maybe we were involved in like a 3-way trade that moves Kyrie to the Lakers or something. But if for some reason Brooklyn said, we'll take CP3 because he'll orchestrate us into the playoffs and keep us afloat like a bridge quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm. And then he could play with Simmons and
then like say they were willing to involve Chris Paul if that did something for them. I'm not saying it would. I'm just saying if they did, would you involve Chris Paul in the Durant trade?
Without a fucking shadow of a doubt, dude.
What would that package look like to you then?
Whatever. I mean, CP3 makes a shit ton. You could almost do 1-for-1 in that scenario, but they wouldn't do it. I would, obviously that changes things from a salary perspective, but it's like if you look at the trade machine, his contract's huge, dude. Like, what is it? Like 40 million?
Yeah, it's huge.
Like,
but
massive.
I mean,
like I said, you could go almost 1-to-1 for that. They wouldn't do that.
They would of course they would never. But yeah, you'd have to give them all the picks and stuff.
Because I'm looking at it right now. Chris Paul. He's at 28 million. I don't know how that's working.
And what I'm saying is like if they're not probably entertaining getting Westbrook, but who would anyone rather have at this point in their career? Would you rather have Chris Paul or would you rather have Westbrook? Considering you're probably going to lose Kyrie and you're going to have a starting point guard, like I don't think Chris Paul is a bad option. And dog, I'm all about selling high.
I've said this multiple times. I'm willing to trade any player on our roster to get Kevin Durant except for Booker. And obviously you can't trade Booker because he just signed that super max deal. Even if you could, I wouldn't do it. And you questioned that and you said maybe I would think about trading Booker for Kevin Durant, right? You said that. So it's like when you have a chance to get a generational player that has 4 years left on his fucking deal, I don't care, dude. I don't care his history or any of that. I know that Kevin Durant wants to play with Booker, and I know it would change your fucking franchise if you had Booker, KD, and Ayton together. Even those three, like that, you could sell that to anybody and say, come here on a veteran's minimum and let's get this shit done, or whatever you need to do. It's just, if you have that opportunity, you make it work. And I don't think Chris Paul is going to ever be involved in any of this shit. But if that was what got it done, I'd do it. And I've said that multiple times. Nobody's untouchable when it comes to getting someone like Kevin Durant, So that's my stance on it.
Your boy Flex tweeted. Just kind of reiterating, rephrasing, resetting up his expectations. He says the Suns were never going to let Ayton simply walk for nothing. They explored the sign and trade options and decided to match. And now they move on to the next order of business without having to worry about the Ayton situation. Tax was coming regardless. This doesn't change anything regarding KD.
Dude,
he's putting himself back on that ledge where Humble Rumble's going to try to jump up and drop kick him off like Sparta. And I fuck with it. I appreciate it. Like I'm happy he's sticking to his guns and not waffling. I mean, last time he didn't waffle, it worked out in his favor. Like I don't see why. I don't know. I'm just past the point of doubting him.
No, I'm not
saying we're gonna get him.
You could check the tapes. We hated on.
Flex, big time. Like, yeah.
And I've already explained that.
Like the player haters ball.
Well, because I do gaming stuff, and there's fake insiders all over the place, just clout chasers and all this stuff. And to a certain extent, it's just natural human tendency to doubt until proven. And I think that Flex has done plenty to prove that he does have sources. Gambo even said that. Like I said, there's some people that hate on Gambo on Twitter and stuff, but Gambo's fucking dialed in, dude. For the most part, he gets things wrong sometimes, but Gambo tweeted the Indiana shit out like a week ago that they were going to sign him to an offer sheet, and it wasn't a sign and trade. He said offer sheet specifically, so people would just gloss over that shit because they don't like him. So
Right.
Gambo said that Flex has sources, and what does Gambo gain for building up Flex when he doesn't get? He wouldn't just say that because people were shitting on Flex, and then Gambo saw that and he said, "Yeah, he does have sources."
Right.
It's like, can we get off? Can we get
You
off?
might
Flex
you
and
might not
follow
like
him?
the way that he phrases things because he phrases things in a way that's like very like I don't want to say theatrical, but it's very deliberate.
There's
The way
room.
he, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and he does leave room. But if he didn't leave room, then he's not saying things are going to happen. That's not his purpose in what he's doing. He's telling you what he's hearing and telling you, I can't make it happen. That's just what I'm hearing. So of course he's leaving an out because there is an out. He's not the one that works for the Suns. I don't know. Evan Sidery said the Suns still have the assets to make Kevin Durant trade happen, even with Deandre Ayton's new max salary potentially on the roster. A package centered around Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, expiring salaries, and all of their future draft picks is enough to make it work legally.
Yeah.
So I want to know from people in the chat, do you guys think that package is enough?
The haters are definitely going to say no.
Of course.
I mean, we talked about it before. They didn't want Ayton. Ayton was never something they wanted, so it doesn't really change things other than Ayton being part of that multi-team deal to get picks and shit and make things work, So I think the Suns legitimately had a trade package without, it was like one or the other not involved. Like, so I truly think it was like they're trying not to gut the whole team. They talked about it. And before Ayton came back or they matched it or whatever, I think it was to the point where it was like Bridges and Cam Johnson. It's either one or the other. They didn't want to include both. And I think it's even to the point where they didn't want to put Bridges in there. So we don't even know what they were offering truly. So if they upped their deal, so where they were saying, well, before we weren't going to give you Bridges, well, fuck that. Things have changed. So we're going to give you Bridges now. And then we'll give you all of our picks. Like I said, they can make it work because Katie wants to go to a specific team. And that's huge when it comes to these trade talks because, yeah, other teams have better offers like Toronto and stuff. But if Katie doesn't want to play there, they're not going to want to mortgage their future to get some dude that's not going to want to be on their team. It just doesn't work that way, especially when it comes to like how much the Nets are wanting. That could just fucking destroy your team, So it should be interesting. Regardless of whatever happens with KD, it's going to be an interesting offseason until we start, until we get to preseason and stuff, because the Suns are definitely not done making moves, right?
Right. No, they're just going to start now, and they're starting late, bro. But they're starting now. Rip City Brady says, why would Brooklyn agree to that? LMAO. Okay, let me just try to make the argument, and you can swat it down in the chat if you guys think it's terrible. But hear me out here. Why would they make that trade? Well, Kevin Durant's 34 years old. He has had serious injuries. Talking Achilles, which used to take people out forever. If you blew your Achilles, ask Kobe. Well, unfortunately, we can't. R.I.P. Yeah. But if you could ask Kobe what happened to him, it completely zapped all of his athleticism. Now, Kevin Durant somehow miraculously come back from that so far. But this is not the Kevin Durant that... I'm willing to take the risk that Kevin Durant will be Kevin Durant-y enough. But there's an argument to be made. Look, he's 34. He's had serious injuries. One day he wants to play for us. The next day he wants to play for the Grizzlies. So we can't give you everything, but what we can give you is first team all defense, first runner-up defensive player of the year, who's gotten better every single season. His points are going up every year. Mikhail. On top of that, all of our picks. On top of that, Cam Johnson, an up-and-coming hooper who's 6'8" and shot 40% from three last year. So we're giving you a sharpshooter and a defensive player of the year candidate for somebody who is fickle, a snake, and 34 with a blown Achilles. It's not as far as you think it is, Brady, for the LMAO. It's not that far.
No, but like who else is, so the teams that were part of these rumors for KD, like the Celtics were supposed to give out Brown. They're not doing that, right? Like Toronto's being mentioned as well. It's just like, man, they're asking for 2 all-star players. Like there's a rumor that the Wolves, they asked the Wolves for Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards or some dumb shit.
Right.
It's like, I don't even think teams are going to give up any all-stars to get KD, dude. Traditionally with these type of deals, it's surrounded by picks. You're getting like Mikal Bridges. Is he going to ever be an all-star? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe. But he's one of the best defenders in the league, and he's going to get better. So he would be the focal point, and then the expiring contracts would be incentive to them because they can make more deals down the line. They get picks back because they can replace the ones they gave to Houston. Cam Johnson is a young, bright, up-and-coming player. So it is what it is. If a team comes out there and makes a better deal and they get KD, so be it. But I want this shit to happen sooner rather than later because I don't want to just wait around and not get other players that can help us throughout the season, you know?
Are you willing? Okay, here's another question then. Are you willing to ride it out for Kevin Durant if they're like, yeah, look, we're not going to be able to make other moves right now because we're hung up on getting Kevin Durant? Would you rather we just rip the Band-Aid off and get other players?
It's tough.
It's tough.
Because, like, to take your name out of the hat, like the running,
yeah,
and you have a chance to get one of the best players ever,
and you're Vegas's favorite,
and just to be like, nah, we're gonna go get Schroeder instead. Or
yuck!
Right?
I'm willing to lay it all on the line.
So you're willing to just be like, run it back, no more moves, and then like KD goes back. You know what I'm saying? We're waiting until training camp. KD's still not moved. We haven't made moves because we're still waiting to, you know, it's going to be interesting because then you'd have to sell that to the fan base. Like, we waited for KD and we're just going to run it back. So
if running it back means we're still in the running all year up to the trade deadline, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, you still have that opportunity to get one of the best players of all time. So fuck it. The Indiana Pacers are getting clowned online, and I'm here for it, dude.
Why? What did the Pacers ever do to you? Oh, that, yeah.
Signed a qualifying offer and try to fuck up our, like they thought they could really get Ayton for nothing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, now they cut some players apparently to make room. I don't know who these players are, but it'd be funny if the Suns picked up one of the players they cut to make space. Can you imagine that?
I know.
They cut a player to make space. You don't get Ayton and they sign your player. Fuck. Tough.
I'm looking for things like signing of Ish Wainwright. Like, I'm hoping now they're ready to figure out getting him a contract, But yeah, they've got us. I think they're ready to right now start making moves, man. This is exciting. I almost don't want to get off the stream because it's like I kind of expect another Woj bomb any second, but it seems like it might not be. Any
So
other aspect of this?
Ayton wanted a 5-year deal worth 170 million plus incentives that could have raised the contract to 200 plus. The Suns offered him basically a 4-year 140 deal. Instead, he refused and ended up taking a deal that was less.
Could you repeat that one more time? Say it for the people in the back of the room. Say it for the trolls in the back of the chat.
I know. So if the Suns would have caved to Ayton's request, right, when he could have signed it after that run to the finals, it would have been 170 million 5-year deal plus incentives that could have took the deal up to 200 million plus. Instead, we got him for 4 years and 130, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's a huge difference. That's like with the incentives, that's a $70 million difference almost. So that's crazy, dude. Crazy.
Romp asked, "Are we worried about the chemistry issue?"
Nah, I think they could they'll fix it. They'll fix it.
I'm worried
Dude
about
got
it.
the bank. Dude, he got paid, bro. If you were salty about playing time and stuff and then not committing to you and you just got a fucking 4-year deal with max money, don't you think that you would kind of be willing to let water go under the bridge and forget about that shit?
I mean,
let bygones be bygones.
I would. Absolutely. I'm a forgiving guy.
If they come to you and say, look, Aiden, we committed our money to you and we're going to make you more of a focal point in this offense, what else does he need?
And then Chris Paul's going to be over in the corner of the room like, the hell we will. And Booker's going to be like, get ready for another Luka special. No, bro. I don't think it's as simple as that, because you can tell Ayton that all you want, but when Booker sees him wide open in the paint and doesn't pass to him, it's all going to start back over again. And Booker be doing shit like that to him.
And then we trade him at the trade deadline.
But he can veto any trade.
I mean, if he wants off the team, he'd probably, we're not going to go that way. We're going to think that fences will be mended and they're going to return to the team that they were. Worst case scenario, they are like the Utah Jazz. I mean, that sounds bad, but you're a successful team in the regular season. Now they need to figure out how they can get over the hump in the postseason. But honestly, I just don't think they're going to do that with CP3. And I'm kind of focused on the future. And I'm intrigued with the future that includes Deandre Ayton, maybe with a different coach,
I am too, man. Like, you just look at it on paper. We didn't lose our first ever and only ever first round overall draft pick, who's not a bust. He's not a bum. He just isn't as good as Luka, but who the fook is, bro? Who's as good as Luka? Like, damn near nobody. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he is still really good. The issue is it's not a bigs league anymore. And
you think Shaq could teach him some things, or
I think I would pay all the money in my bank account to get Shaq in a room with Ayton, or at least, I don't know. I mean,
it's an inside joke. I just think, all right. So we've talked about this before. I just think there's some major issues. Like, it's a double-edged sword. Our coach, for example, he got us to a pinnacle, and I think that he got out-coached a lot. Tons, right? First round, He got out-coached by his protege. He got out-coached in the finals by some dudes that was saying play random. So I don't know if he'll be the answer going forward. There might. Do
you think they'll ever have the balls to fire Monty?
Probably not. I think the first domino to fall would be CP3 getting, traded or cut, or he retires
or something.
And then you got to move. The good thing is, though, the cupboards aren't bare right now. You have this young core, which is one of the better young cores in the league. So it's like you have Booker, who's on the cover of 2K, and he's attracting Kevin Durant. It's like you have this young core. There's going to be players that want to come here, so you could still make things happen in the future. And that's what I'm excited for, because I was really worried that this was going to get fucking scorched earth situation where we have a young core and then we fuck it up, right? And then it just fizzles out. But it'd be nice to have a competitive team for the next 5 to 10 years, you know? And it just changes. Teams change like that, and just go for your runs. I mean, this year, as is, are they title contenders? No. They needed to make significant moves. KD would be one of those moves, or multiple trades with the team as constituted, like a Schroeder, getting some guards in here that can create, getting to the rack and getting some fouls and stuff. But it's still going to be nice to have that team that's competitive, one of the better teams in the league, instead of being dumpster fire garbage for the 10 years that we were, you know?
Right. I got this tweet up. The what if Phoenix Suns all-star team is stacked. Center Kareem Abdul-Jabbar lost a coin flip. Power forward LaMarcus Aldridge lost out in free agency. Remember that? Remember when we went through a fucking bag at Tyson Chandler so we could get Aldridge? Mm-hmm. Small forward Kevin Durant, to be determined. Shooting guard Eric Gordon lost him in restricted free agency. Point guard Steph Curry lost out on draft day trade for Amari. You remember that? Young Suns fans, you might not remember.
They cheered in the war room because they thought the deal was done. It was actually agreed upon. And then what's his name reneged on it, and it was just...
What was that dude's name?
It was like one of the old coaches, one of the old coaches for the Warriors, right? He was like the GM.
Yeah, he's like an OG for that organization. Smart move by him, bro. Smart move by him. You know? But anything else you got on this, bro? Do you feel a need to point out?
No, I got a lot of stuff off my chest, man. I was listening to all this stuff, and finally we got something that happened 2 weeks later. So
right,
it's good, man.
Appreciate everybody hanging out with us, man. If you haven't hit the like, please do so on your way out of the stream. Be back. I'm gonna put a video out tonight, probably. Working on that already. And man, just thanks for hanging out, everybody. Appreciate everybody in the chat, even the haters. Even the haters. So what I will say at the end here is Phoenix Suns get exactly what they wanted originally at a cheaper rate. Instead of $170 million for Ayton, they got him for $133. Suns win, Suns win.
Phaedra, my kid's crying, but you don't know what the you're talking about. Man, Johnson, let's go. Dunk on someone. Oh!
No! Frank. Second free throw for Brooks. It's off! It's off!
Passes the bitch like Biombo.
Mikhail has it. Oh, come on, baby. 4 seconds.
I didn't even know SSBBW existed.
Oh, shit!
You said both cheeks were gonna be spread.
I beat the shit out of Aaron Carter.
Cam Johnson, deep three! Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go!
Looking for somebody.
Oh, what the fuck? What just happened? What just happened?